another episode of the program Kitchen Drive. Yes, Kitchen Drive is a program designed, to meet nutritionists, meet experts, and talk about food, talk about our health, talk about preventive measures, and likes of such. Today, we have a special guest in the studio. He is a veterinarian, Dr. Mark Ojemirin. He is a veterinarian, as I said, and we are going to talk about you are what you eat. You are what you eat because either it's what adds to your health or, of course, affects you. And with the outbreak of cholera, it is something that is worrisome. If you want to know more, you just sit right there. When we come back after the short break, we will introduce our guest to you, and of course, we'll talk about cholera. Kitchen Drive on ARCN Television. I am Hilda Homsem Tuatuam. Don't go anywhere.
Would you eat synthetic meat? Food production technology has progressed to the point where we are able to create meat analogues derived from soybeans, gluten, and other plant products. Beyond meat products are readily available in supermarkets as well as some fast food chains like Burger King and Carl's Jr. If this plant-based imitation meat isn't your thing, you can simply get your protein elsewhere. Food cultures around the world have heavily featured plant-based meat such as tofu or falafel for hundreds of years. But synthetic meat is not plant-based. It's meat. Lab-grown, artificially produced meat. Thanks to recent innovations in food production technology, consumers may see lab-grown meat in their supermarket aisles very soon. Numerous companies around the world, such as Upside in the United States and Future Meat in Israel, have been hard at work getting ready to bring their lab-grown cultivated meat to the masses. For the first time, they'll be able to say, no animals were harmed in the making of this meat product.
Real meat, not farming animals.
Instead, workers cultivate small clumps of animal cells in large industrial-grade vats over a period of weeks. During this time, these clumps of cells are grown or cultivated into muscle tissue or meat. Effectively, this means that Upside is able to manufacture real meat in this facility without harming any animals. But how exactly is this done? The first step of this 2 to 8 week process is extracting the cells. After giving an animal a small dose of anesthesia, they extract a small amount of cells from it. These cells are then placed in bioreactors, large steel vats designed for cell culture applications. Inside these vats, scientists can grow tissues or cells far beyond the cellular level. Inside the bioreactor, these cells are fed an oxygen-rich cell culture medium or nutrient broth to further promote their growth. This cell culture medium aims to simulate the environment inside an animal's body and thus contains nutrients such as amino acid, vitamins, and glucose. This nutrient bath encourages the cells to grow normally as they would inside the animal. Eventually, once these cells have multiplied enough, they turn into muscle tissue, or a mass resembling ground meat. To shape the tissue into specific cuts of meat, such as chicken breast or a prime cut of steak, scientists introduce fat cells and connective tissue cells into the culture. This isn't just for show either. The fat cells and connective tissue enhance the cultivated meat's overall flavor. Scientists can even control the nutritional value of the meat by altering the nutrient broth the cells are bathed in during the cultivation process. Despite the massive amounts of progress they've made with their meat manufacturing process, Upside is running into the same problems encountered by the other meat manufacturers of cultivated meat. For one, the business of cultivated meat is expensive. Each state-of-the-art facility required to produce cultivated meat costs millions of dollars to construct and maintain. Couple that with the overall cost of production, and you end up with a relatively expensive product that might be a hard sell for some consumers. Thankfully, companies like Future Meat have been able to bring production costs down significantly. Recent reports indicate that each Future Meat chicken breast costs $1.70 to produce. That's in stark contrast to the $330,000 burger patties of the first public tasting of cultivated meats back in 2013. Aside from replicating the nutritional value in real meats, it's also crucial to offer consumers a product that tastes, smells, and feels just like the real thing. Upside has found some success with producing cultivated meats similar in texture and flavor to chicken breasts. Other cultivated meat producers around the world have also made significant headway with their products. For instance, the Tel Aviv-based food tech startup Supermeats hosted a well-publicized taste test for Israeli food journalist Michal Ansky. Despite Ansky's refined palate, she was unable to distinguish between traditionally grown chicken meat and Supermeat's cultivated product. Once the cultivated meat industry takes off, we may finally be able to rein in the increasing environmental cost of feeding our world's population. More than a third of the world's greenhouse gas emissions come from the food production industry, with a large chunk of that attributed to meat production. By offering a cleaner, lab-grown alternative, we may be able to mitigate the growing stress our ballooning global population is placing on the environment. Along the way, we might even be able to get cultivated meat similar in texture and flavor to Wagyu beef. That would be quite the delicious bonus.
Back. Before we went on the break, I told you that I have Dr. Mark or Jimirin. He is a veterinarian, and we're talking about what we eat. The reason why we are looking at this is because of the outbreak of cholera right now, affecting a lot of states, and people are really going down to it. Welcome to the program, doctor.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Very good.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Thank you.
All right, can you give us an overview of what cholera is?
Thank you for having me on the program. Technically, cholera is caused by bacteria called Vibrio cholerae, which, after gaining entry, releases into the host of the body of the affected person. And once that has been achieved, you will now start to see the evident clinical signs in the patient, which stems from vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration, and in some cases death due to the presence or the activity of these toxins.
Now, when you see patients affected with cholera, what are some of the signs? Of course, maybe the way I'm sitting here, maybe I am, but then what is the period at which a patient gets infected? That is from the window period to the surface period. When will you see and know that a person is affected with cholera? What are some of the signs and symptoms if there are?
With regards to the disease, once the person has come in contact with the bacteria through primary majorly injection, that the bacteria will replicate in vitro and produce the toxins. And most times it's these toxins that goes about causing the effect that is seen clinically. And this could be as short as 12 hours to as long as 48 hours basically. So sometimes it will extend to over a week. But most times it causes basically foodborne intoxication. So you basically now see these signs over a very short period.
All right, so now we have our plants, we have our vegetables that we eat. Of course, cycle has been going on. We should avoid it. We should not take it through. We should wash it properly and stuff like that. how do plants get contaminated with cholera? And then, like we use salt, vinegar, and other means of prevention, to wash the vegetables, to wash the fruit before consumption. How do we get contacted with cholera? How do those things, how do they get contaminated?
Thank you very much. Cholera is basically spread when the patient or the human gets directly in contact with water that has been infected with bacteria. And this water can now be used to wash our vegetables at home and used to cook. And once it's used to cook, the bacteria is now transmitted to whatever is being used to cook. And also in scenarios whereby there's water that is being passed through fecal material and fecal dumpings, those water, when it's used to water plants in farms and villages, those vegetables might also be coming with a lot of microorganisms attached to them, which mainly cholera might also be a suspect. So that's just.
So now with the use of salt and vinegar and other substances that we are being told, and we know that we should use them when we're washing vegetables, so can they prevent that?
The washing of vegetables can help to prevent the bacteria, but in scenarios whereby toxins are already being released from the bacteria onto the vegetables, that will now serve as a problem. And the hygienic conditions of people that are involved in processing, farming, packaging, and selling food products such as vegetables and fruits is also a part that is questionable, because a patient who has cholera or a human who has cholera who goes to defecate without washing his hands and comes back to get in direct contact with those vegetables, will further help spread disease. And when the patient now gets to the hospital, in some cases it might be difficult to have a trace back to the point source where the epidemic or where the issue started. So most times it's best to easily just avoid them, or have a cognitive history of what you have eaten or what you have eaten in the last 24 to 48 hours. So when those patients are presented to the hospital, they will know or have a likely ideology of where they came in contact with the disease or the bacteria basically.
All right, we're still talking with Dr. Mark Odimirian. He is a veterinarian, and we're talking about you are what you eat. Of course, he has highlighted it here that everything has to do with the source of water that we get, either through our hands or the water is being used to water vegetables or fruits that we consume. But everything has to go through the bacteria, through the means at which the bacteria can get infected,
yes.
you know, and the basic needs is the source of water, right?
Yes.
We have more to discuss about cholera. We want to talk about if cholera can, if animals rather, can be affected with cholera, and how do we get contacted through animals. This is still Kitchen Drive on your first cultural television, and we're talking about you are what you eat. And of course, everything you eat determines the health value or the health stage that you will be. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, the discussion continues. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is still Kitchen Drive on your first cultural television. And of course, don't be surprised, we're not in the kitchen cooking right now, but rather we're talking about the preventive measures of cholera because basically the topic is what you eat. Whatever we eat determines the level of health that we will have. And of course, Dr. Mark Ojemiran, a veterinarian, is talking more about it and is enlightening us about it. And before we went on the break, he actually told us the bacterial level of cholera in our human beings, how we get affected, and of course, how our vegetables and salt get affected too through the water which is infected with cholera. We get to use it, we get to wash our vegetables, even though we add some preventive measures to it, but still the bacteria gets into these vegetables or fruits, and when we consume it, we get affected. All right, now can you tell us the preventive, how can we prevent ourselves from 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 getting infected with cholera?
Thank you very much. So cholera basically is a waterborne bacterial disease. So in prevention, we'll actually look at limiting the spread of this disease through water, in the sense that we have to get clean and safe water free of any waterborne disease to communities in and around the country. Basically, a lot of environments and a lot of communities don't even have access to clean potable water that is free. Some communities, which are mainly rural communities and some urban communities, and some of these rural communities are farmers. The water they use to even water their plants, they cannot even ascertain or say that they are free of waterborne diseases. So in prevention, we have to ensure that communities get in contact with clean water. Secondly, we have to ensure that the vegetables, the fruits we buy from the marketplaces and from the streets are free. And right now there's an disease epidemic, it's endemic in the country. So it's advised as much as possible to limit consumption of vegetables and fruits. And even when you have to be actually careful. You have to be discerning to know the quality of health of the vendor that is selling those commodities. We want to be sure that when the vendor goes out or goes to the toilet, he washes his hands, he's clean, he looks clean and healthy, and does not look as like someone who must have been having the disease at that point in time. And also, we have to ensure that in environments where they don't have good quality water, in order to just reduce the occurrence of waterborne diseases in general, they might need to boil their water before eating, before drinking them. Also, they need to make sure that their water sources is good. We have to go back to ensuring that there's general cleanliness when people use the toilets, so they don't use the toilets and come out without washing their hands, and they go around shaking one another. And also, it will not be out of place for us to invoke or bring back the use of hand sanitizers. So it just helps keep ourselves clean and keep our hands clean and keep the ingestion of water. When we ingest water, the water we ingest should be very clean and safe.
All right. Yes. So you've said it. All right. Thank you. So you've really, highlighted this. And now for an individual who is already, suffering with cholera, what are some of the management level that you can manage the person before it will?
All right. In prevention beforehand, in endemic areas where there has been a very high report of outbreak from a particular area, in some cases it's advised to vaccinate people around that area for the disease. Then also for management, due to the clinical signs of the disease, most times when you observe someone who has had a pre-history of eating out or eating in in poor hygienic places, most times we advise to present the person to the hospital as immediate as you can. And when they get to the hospital, the professionals at the hospital will definitely attend to the person. But in general, treatments and management is mainly aimed at trying to manage dehydration due to the volume of diarrhea that the person would have passed, would have sent the person into a whole lot of fluid loss. And in cases of cholera, fluid loss is actually greater than fluid intake. So most times there has to be fluid therapy administered. Fluid therapy will have to be instituted so that the person does not lose a lot of fluid. And secondly, there will be administration of other therapies such as antibiotics and some gastric protectants which will help coat and protect the gastric intestinal system from further damage. And also, there will be a lot of therapy towards trying to contain the bacteria and contain the possible effect of the toxins that have been seen. But mostly it's advised that we should not sort out for home-based treatments. We should always look out to go to the hospitals or the healthcare centers to get the necessary therapy.
That is good. That is very, very important. Now, this is for our food vendors out there. We need at least to take good care of our environment. First, our utensils. Then, second, our environment. We need to take now good care of our vegetables, our fruits. You know, people who really want to, believe in us. They believe in what you give them, and they don't get to see where the source of the food comes from. So, as you take good care of yourself, you are what you eat, then it boils down to you, the vendors, yes, of course, the vendors, the caterers, to take good care of us that we believe in you and we eat from you.
Yeah.
As a veterinarian now, let me just talk a little about that. Do our animals get infected with this bacteria? Now, for someone that have, let's say, pond, I know it's water, and I don't know, maybe the source of water that you put into your pond, and then you consume the fish. Is there any likelihood that cholera can pass through that?
Yes, thank you very much. Cholera has actually been reported to be zoonotic, which means that it can be transmitted from humans to animals. So let's just see a scenario whereby an animal is infected with cholera and his stools, and a human that is the carer of that animal packs those stools and does not wash his hands thoroughly before getting in contact with food materials or eating. That might also serve as a point of contact for the human to be affected.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright, so you have to also be careful.
Yes, you have to be careful when you deal with animals. Just maintain, in general, it's advised to maintain optimal sanitary conditions. Any water that is being used for drinking and for eating and for processing of food should have no contact with fecal material whatsoever.
Alright, thank you. So, do you have any words for our viewers, especially those who are going through this pandemic now?
My advice to everyone at this period, we should ensure that we keep safe, ensure that we know the source of what we eat, and also when you go out to restaurants to eat, kindly be sure of safe to make sure that you eat in places that have a good record of some sanitary conditions being met. And also if you notice that someone around you is having these symptoms of having diarrhea for a long period, people are advised not to do self-therapy at home, thinking it's just any antiprotozoan disease or any unknown cause of diarrhea. Actually present themselves to the hospital where they will be taken care of properly.
Right. Thank you so much. You heard from that. Thank you so much for coming too. Yes, for every one of us here, the bowl is now cooked. We all need to put our hands together to see that we prevent ourselves from this. We are what you eat. We are what we eat. And of course, you must eat healthy, you must eat good food, you must take good care of yourself because that is the best you can do for yourself. Eat good food, stay healthy. This is where we end the program. Yes, thank you so much, Doctor, for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, so good luck to everybody, dear. See you next time for another episode of the program Kitchen Drive. For all of us here, is thank you and take good care of yourself. Let's keep cholera out of Nigeria. See you and have a nice time.